we'll find out.
Find out. Yeah, I'm sorry. Only because
That's all right.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful. I'm
Yeah.
feeling so good. Peace and blessings, family. We are live back up in your African spiritual conversations, and the Queen Mothers are in the house. The Iyas, Yeys, all that good stuff. We back up in here today, and I want to give a shout out to our Yeye that was on with us last week. Loved her energy, loved her spirit, and of course, you know, as always, she always do a check in on the sister. So I'm so grateful. And I was first before we get started wanted to thank Ifa Multiplay for cooking me some dinner, bringing it by. I did eat some last night. You know me, I'm cold. I got up in the middle of the night and had to eat food. So I didn't eat all of it. I'm eating the rest of the day, but it was so good. I think that was a meal my mother would have made.
Oh, wow.
Goodness.
So, 100
Thank
years.
you. That's how
That's how I got through. It was so good. The sauce on the top and potatoes and Brussels sprouts. Okay, here's what maybe you knew this or not. My mother was famous for Brussels sprouts. Me and her were the only two that ate them.
No, I didn't know that.
I love Brussels sprouts. My sister hate Brussels sprouts, but my mother, she make them Brussels sprouts.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
Mm-hmm.
that was such a treat. Like I didn't even know you had baked Brussels sprouts, so that was divine.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of them keep your belly full meals. That's what I had yesterday.
It was.
So thank you so much, sis. I saw it.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
That's sisters looking out for sisters.
Right now.
That's what it really is all about.
I'm sure.
And I am doing well. Thank you all for your prayers, and everything was so good yesterday. I mean, there is something about when you connect to your ancestors and they reassure your spirit. Like we is up in here with you. Don't trip. Everybody that touched me yesterday was just so awesome, so nice, so just genuine. You know, so I'm just grateful.
Okay.
I didn't have the nasty nurse or nothing like that. Everybody was just lovely. It was just like, oh, people walking by, hey, hi, you know.
I gotta get my glasses.
So it was awesome. So I'm so grateful. So thank you all for asking. Thank you. Which brought me to today. I wanted to us a little bit today to talk about Ashe, and also to talk about why is it important for us to be connected to our ancestors and why we should know their stories. How is that connected to spirit?
The first thing is, I think what you just shared with us. Oh, hi, Iya. How are you? Iya, I think what you just shared with us, Rolanda, almost answers the question why we should be connected to our ancestors. In your connection to your ancestors yesterday morning, you were able to go through your day and walk into all of those wonderful people. You didn't have any nasty, encounters. And you had the procedure, you rested, you came home, you rested. Your sister brought you some good food. She included the Brussels sprouts. Now, you know that's May.
Yeah, that was my mom. I'm telling you, that was my mom. You had made Brussels sprouts.
Yeah. And she heard you in the morning. She said, I'm going to make my baby some Brussels sprouts. Eva Mo Dupuy, go get them Brussels sprouts and take them over there. See, that's what the ancestors will do for you. They are they're on the first line of defense. And they will, as long as we are, even if we're not right with them sometimes, but you can rest assured if you're right with your ancestors, you call their names. See, I notice I know your mother's name. I know her name is May. Yeah. You call her name. Yes. And when we call their names, it's almost as if that's how we venerate them. We remember them. And if we do good by them, they will definitely do good by us.
That is so true, Shay. So what I was,
And
no, go ahead.
it's proven over and over. If you really think about it, you can prove it to yourself. Nobody, I don't have to say it. Nobody has to tell you that. If you do right by your ancestors, they will do right by you, and you'll see it because they'll save your ass every time.
Yep.
That's real talk.
Yes.
You said it perfectly.
And you know what was interesting? I was sharing that the last 2 times I went in for that procedure, my blood pressure was sky high. I don't know what it was. It was just like on alert. And then I would leave there, go to my regular doctor, and the blood pressure would be perfect. And then they would be like, well, what's going on? I was like, I don't know. Like, I come in there, like, you know, the last time I was so upset, I didn't even check out. I just put on my clothes and left. Ooh. And so when I went to my doctor, he was like, you're still checked in at radiology. And I was like, well, I ain't at radiology because I ain't going back there no more. That's my whole attitude. Like, I'm done. I ain't supposed to do this, blah, blah, blah. But some reason for yesterday, after I finished doing my prayers, giving thanks, I just wanted to go live and just kind of, you know, speak. I felt really good. And I really felt like I was really talking, as I always do, with my ancestors. But I also know in my family, hospital is for the elders in my family that are now ancestors. Hospitals wasn't good places for them. So they never wanted to go. They, you know, like it was every, and I know in my family, my grandmother was not born deaf. And so the story goes that she had the scarlet fever, some kind of fever. And when she went into the hospital, it took her eardrums out. So that is not a place where we know that there's been a lot of experimentation and stuff like that on us as Black folks. So for me, I don't know if I was having that fear or that emotion, but I felt very calm because she's on my altar, but she's everywhere all over my house. But it's just kind of like, let me talk with them and calm. I'm gonna try this one more again. You know, I felt, but it went so well, and it was like the people who was in that room with me, the young man, I think he was like Filipino or Hawaiian. He was so nice. We talked about family. He was like, your blood pressure is great. Like everybody that came in there that had some part of the procedure was just so nice. One of the ladies' name, she was Mung. Her name was May. Her name is spelled M-U-E-Y. I said, well, my mom's name is spelled M-A-E-Y. And she said, well, you know you in good hands. Just like that. As she was the person preparing all the little stuff to do the little procedure. And then she made sure she said bye to me when I left. How you felt? I felt great. So it was just like, it was like butter.
Yeah. The other point about that is the other 2 times, how your ancestors and spirit works for you. The other 2 times when you went in, you don't know what may have happened. So they may have saved you from yourself.
Yeah, I believe that. Blood pressure was high. They kept me in like an hour, and it was like, it won't go down. Like they cut the lights off, did some breathing exercises. My blood pressure was high. And I was like, what's going on? And then I would leave there and go to the doctors, and it would be normal. I was like, I ain't coming back here. I'm done. I was more upset. I was like, I'm done. I'm tired of coming through here. This has messed up my schedule. You know, like, you know. So I'm just so grateful. It was just like, you know, today I feel good. It's like a little leaf, like a, you know, it's like a little Band-Aid just to make sure there's no bump there. It was grateful, and it really made me bring home to ancestors. Like that had everything to do with me connecting with them. What is Ashe? Because we say Ashe a lot, but I don't know if we understand the power of Ashe for real, for real. You know what I mean? I wanted us to kind of talk about that a little bit, like even talking about my grandmother. And then yesterday I felt very, as I was praying, I just felt really teary. Like I just felt like I want to bust out crying. And sometimes when I'm in front of my ancestral altar, I feel like I get like an overwhelming rush, like just gratitude. Like, oh my goodness, like I'm so blessed or honored or whatever to be connected to you. Because I really do know your journey. I know that there's a generic way that Black people talk about Black people, but I'm gonna be honest, I know my line for real. I don't know. We're these great people. Then that's good. But I'm gonna tell you about my mama, who braved the West, who did all kind of things, and still, had that. When we talked about the Clark sisters on Sunday, and I talked about when I seen the Clark sisters' mama, the woman who played her, which she's a great actress, the way she embodied her, that felt like my mom. Just never like want to, make sure her daughter seen her be. That was my mom. Even though I had questions like, Mom, you didn't want to be with nobody else? Like, you ain't been with nobody in like 15 years. Like, you never dated nobody. We try to hook up on a date. There is something about that I always want to tap into, because that's in my lineage. And in my lineage, to always succumb to the bullshit. Like, I can't even do that. I be feeling some kind of way. Like, I know, y'all not going to. I'll be honest, like, I thought I was going to, but I'm just not going to. But y'all go ahead. I'll say that to people, like, I'm not going to do that part. But y'all go ahead. God bless you. I think that's my lineage. Like, girl, we don't do shit like that. I mean, I've had those moments where things come up, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to. Y'all go ahead, though. I'll catch up. I'll see y'all later on. I know that's my ancestry. I know that's my mama. I know that's her mother, who had 12 children, and nine of them lived. And, like, I know so much of, and she was deaf and mute. Like, since she was like 5 or 6 or somewhere around there. So, like, I know the stories. So I just don't get to walk in the world and just do me. Because doing me means to do them. And they ain't going to let me do no stupid shit. So I think that's that Ashe. And she realized that's what I think I want to do. But they may have other plans. What y'all thoughts? I done said a lot. Please say that.
Who's speaking? Anybody speaking?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Well, I just got finished talking about the ancestors and how Rolanda's story answered that question for us. Yes, they work for us. We just have to do our part. Ashe, well, that's a big topic. And it has different meanings, but it's what we're blessed with. It's our power. It's our might. It encompasses, or it covers us. It envelops us. It is our ability. It's our ability to withstand life and to stand in our own power as we go through this life journey.
Sure.
And we all come into this our lifetimes with Ashe. But it's a huge topic. That's just one little small piece of the puzzle.
Sure. It's like a power. It's evoking what you have just done, or what you are trying to get to. You're putting that last word, let it be so. It's a blessing. It's a way that we give thanks, even, and saying, hey, I got up this morning, Ashe. I'm going to wake up tomorrow, Ashe. So I'm giving that power to what I'm asking for. I'm giving that power to acknowledge what's been done. So it's power. It's power in every single thing we do. Sometimes when we are talking about something, we need to put that Ashe on it. It may be how you even breathe to utter the word Ashe. It's in you. Yes.
Sister Wendy Talley said, and when we get to choose when and where we share, I definitely think there's some power on that as well. Even when I was sharing yesterday on the video, I thought of, and I was going back to the comments because I do that sometimes. I try to do it all the time, but I like when the sister shared when we talked about my sister Renee. She was on that, and her her grandson is the one I'm with all the time. Like, that's my baby. And so, and then when my cousin was like, I remember Renee, because that's my oldest sister. She's been dead for about 20-something years now. The one sister said, thank you, bro. I needed to hear that. Today I included my oldest sister on an ancestral altar. She's been dead for years. So I just think sometimes when you, I think sometimes in our culture, and this need sometimes to, we are spiritual, but it don't feel real. We don't even share where we really are on this journey because it ain't an easy. You know what I mean? I always hate it when somebody will be crying and somebody say, don't cry, it'll be okay. But that's a part of the Ashe.
Ashe.
You can't tell somebody because it makes you feel uncomfortable that they crying. I don't like to see people crying. I swear I don't. I just like, oh my God, I feel so bad. But I mean, that's my own stuff. But there's something very cleansing about when you cry. There is something very sacred in that. That's why the cry you cry when you're feeling that way is different than the tears you shed when you cut an onion. It's just, it's two different tears. I got the science class, but it just makes sense now. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we have this way of when people are moving through our own discomfort show up, and we don't allow people to stand in their truth because that's the truth. Like I think that's why we're so sick because we hold everything in, and then we burst.
Yeah. It makes us uncomfortable when we see other people cry. But on the other hand, for many of us, it takes us to that place inside ourselves where we can empathize with what the person is saying. It brings that to the fore for us. Because when you were speaking yesterday, that's what it did for me. It brought to the fore, my ancestors and what they have gone through. And and then I saw something else yesterday too when you received that award. And we're just I love the word, and I'm going to use it now all the time. I'm telling you now. The continuum. I'm just a continuum. That's all. And there's nothing new under the sun, really. I just learned from folks, and I'm taking that and turning it around and giving it back. And so that came through for me. The tears were tears of energy moving within you. And because it moved within you, it allowed that energy to move me. And that was today. I didn't even see it yesterday.
Yeah. What about you, Ifa Mokukwe? Ashe. Power of Ashe.
There's so much. We talked about so much. It's like I don't know where to start. Ashe. So the energy, it's got, like Iyas said, it's just a lot of things. But in regard to the tears specifically, water is a very powerful medium for moving Ashe. So, the body is made of a lot of water. Tears are water, basically. And the thing that moves you, I think also is like when you see someone crying, that energy is moving and it's strong, right? Because how it feels in the body for tears to come out, even when it's effortless, you still feel that energy moving inside of you. It's a strong emotion that makes tears, whether it's laughing or sadness, happiness or sadness. It's a strong emotion that moves that water out of your body in that way, right? And it does impact everything around you. So when that happens, it's also moving the water within the people in your sphere of influence. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they're in the room with you. We saw that video online and we were moved. We see a lot of things on television and whatnot that move us, that make that water in our bodies kind of start to shift around. because we know that water being the conduit that it is, that energy um, moving through water can be manipulated. Like you can, I mean, they've done scientific studies. Is there science that supports this? Also, they've done scientific studies to say we put this word on a bottle of water and it did this thing. You know what I mean? And it looks different. The molecules of water change, in the way that they're grouping based on the energy that's imposed on it. So it's very, I mean, and even scientists don't know everything. You know what I mean? There's more to it, but that's a part of the science, we'll say. And so we the way that Ashe gets around primarily is through us. We lend our Ashe to things. So this is how things come from the unseen into the seen, is that we lend our Ashe to that transference, that transmutation. We are the ones that push things into being with a lot of ideas. So also the ritual is important because it is a way for us to change our vibration. So the power is there no matter what. That's the thing about it. Ashe is like Eshu. It's indifferent to what you feel is good and bad. It's not it's not based on you got to be so holy to have, or pious or whatever, to have access to Ashe. That's why there are a lot of things in the tradition that we don't just come out and share. I make reference to giving an AK-47 to a 5-year-old because when someone is at a very low vibration, or their character is not up to par, and you give them certain information about how to move Ashe, they may not use it for the highest good. And then you run into other problems. But really, you gotta hold yourself responsible for that because you put it out there. You just put it out there. And usually, I mean, that's a determination that a lot of that elders really hold the key to. Like, are you ready for this information? That's one of the reasons why it's having a teacher is beneficial. And so having someone to guide you through the tradition, because it's a lot of power. You get access to a lot of power. You have the power, your everything vibrates. And so the voice can impose a vibration on something. So if you know how to use your Ofo Ashe, or the power of your word, then it puts you in a position to manipulate the way things appear, because appearance is just an agreement. Nothing is really solid. That's a scientific fact, that everything is just a set of molecules vibrating at a particular level.
Exactly.
And so that Ashe is a part of all these things. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to just put your finger on what it is.
How would you connect that Ashe to your ancestors and to you, for those who are listening? So how would you connect your Ashe to their Ashe?
Oh, it's intention. Your intention is the biggest part of it. From my experience, that's what I've experienced, is that there have been times when there was rituals that I could have done, but I couldn't get myself together to do the ritual for whatever reason. And an earnest prayer was all I had. Basically, I took my word and my intention, and that's what I had to offer. And it completely transformed the situation in prayer. Um, and so that's really what a part of the Ashe of these conversations is, that our intention is to uplift and support. When we come in with that, we have said our intention has got a true aim, You know what I mean? We're very mindful of what we share, how we share it, because we want to be able to, and we're working together. So communal prayer is the most powerful. You know, this is a tradition that's practiced in community. We are a communal people for the most part, and so um, this is what allows us to be more powerful. I mean, think about it. Like, it doesn't matter what God your aunties was praying to. If all your aunties get together and they pray for you, trust and believe something is going to happen. Because if you ever had a boyfriend that your mama and them didn't like, he was gone before you knew what happened. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
powerful.
Hmm.
So let me ask y'all that. With that being said, why is it that it seemed like some, I'm using the word some, people feel like it's their duty to scare the shit out of you to get you into spiritual, to get you into religion? Why is fear such a tactic that is used sometimes in communities? Like if you don't do this, God gonna kick your ass. Like, like why do we do that, people?
Um, Control. It allows us to be in control. And even if we don't happen to be in a position to control that particular person, um, when we offer that that bugaboo that if you don't do it this way, God is going to strike you dead, or whatever the scenario may be. Uh, it gives us the power to tell that person what will be for them. That's why, for me, divination is so, and I know I'm going way off the track here, but
Yeah.
divination is so important and so sacred, because when you sit on that mat, you want to know within your very being that the person or the conduit through which Orisha or Ifa is speaking is a pure conduit, not
You good. Go ahead. Yeah.
okay. They're singing.
Right.
You want to make sure that that's a pure conduit, and that there isn't, as much as is humanly possible, there isn't that control uh, coming from the person who's doing the reading.
Mm.
So, yeah. So but getting back to your question, I think it's a matter of control, and we control people with fear.
Hmm.
If I can, I mean, look at how we are controlled by the powers that be, through fear.
Yeah.
It's always through fear. Fear of whatever it may be. You can't do this because if you do this, we're going to do that to you. You can't do that. If you do it, the cops are going to come get you, or the whatever the outcome is going to be is not going to be good. So keep yourself still, and that way I can control you. So I think control has a lot to do with it, and we use it through fear. Um, Whereas as it would be so much, I always gravitate, not that I'm any goody two shoes, but I always gravitate to letting me do something because I want to do it. Even if you think it's not the best thing for me to do, let me do it and let me find out on my own. You know, I don't like control. in any, I mean, from childhood, I just don't like it. Even when you used to go to school and they used to make you do this and make you do that, I was always the one getting in trouble because I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that's not good all the time. It's something you have to learn how to control. It's something you have to learn how to curb. But that's my first thought on that.
Anybody else wanted to expand on that?
Fear can be a teaching tool for us too, because
That's true.
sometimes we don't test. We're going to test, but we've been taught to not do. And the process. I was looking at the scientific method our sister Amo Dupuy is doing. So I like that aspect because you're breaking it down from the way of thinking about it. But with that fear, you learn to respect certain things because you have to test that sometimes, and sometimes you watch what happens. But what happened? But what happens if I do that? Well, it's a part of that process in our life that teaches us to respect certain things. You learn that I really shouldn't be sticking my hand in that fire. I need to respect, and sometimes that's also correlated with the fear that that's not something I really want to do. So it plays a good part.
Yeah.
In our lives too. So that's
right. It can be a double-edged sword, but it can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But as we speak about fear when it comes to religion, though,
that's called lives.
Yeah, that for me is, let's say, and I'm only using Catholic because that's the one I know the best. That whole Catholic upbringing of if you don't do whatever it is, this is a good one. This is it. This is in my day. If you have sex before marriage, you're gonna go to hell. Well, come on now. I never did go for that one.
That's what we done.
And how about when your parents told you you better keep your dress down and your legs closed because you get pregnant? You don't come in here, that never worked well for me. I always felt that people should be able to do. You'll learn that you better keep your dress down and your legs closed if that's your path. You'll learn that. But I want to find out for myself. Anyway, I digress here.
That is true. That's what fear made us do. It made us more curious. Well, why should I fear that? What is really wrong? What you hiding from me?
LaDonna says that religious people confuse respect and fear. I agree with you.
Yes.
That's the thin line.
Yes.
That happens a lot.
Yes.
That's true.
But I watched Waco on Netflix yesterday. Well, the last couple of days I've been watching it in pieces. And I remember that was like 1993 or somewhere around there. It was really interesting. It so wasn't the black and white story. There was no mass suicide. But the people in the house, because of their belief biblically and stuff, and the guy's charismatic way of being, which I mean, I guess he had been there because he didn't look charismatic to me, but it was kind of like they lost their lives because they really believed in something that they allowed fear to override their sense of respect for their own being.
That's the
best way I could fit it because he was clearly crazy. But then sometimes you would think if you're a biblical person, because some people say the Bible, they think they shut people down. I'd be like, well, I don't believe in that. Then they get confused because now they don't have nothing to fight me with. It's like, you can't use that because I don't do that. Like, yeah, I don't do that. And I do that mainly because I want you to prove your point. I don't want you to hide behind no words. I want you to prove whatever it is you're trying to tell me. You just can't throw no verse on me because it don't work like that.
Right.
It's like, you got to tell me. You don't get to have a cheat sheet. But when I looked at that documentary, there was so many things that was like, yeah, I'd have never known that. If I was a blanket type of person, I would have believed that all of them committed suicide. If I didn't know how our government worked, how crazy men work, and how women and men who are looking for salvation because maybe their life wasn't that great, think. And how sometimes you get caught down to 11:59 and 59 minutes, like the lady who was saying will come out, but then it was too late because they couldn't pull her out. It's all of those things. I'll see people believing in stuff, or I'll see people stand by and watch other people be abused and then act like somehow it was a higher calling that they didn't adhere to. Because I think that's some of our human experience when we want to chastise you like you would in this reality, but then blame it on a force you can't see.
Right.
Now that's that crazy shit.
Well, it's so much to say about this. The main thing that I want to say is that we allow people to control us when we don't understand who we are. It's very important for us to know who we are and how we're made. If you understand Ori, you won't let anyone else's head rise above your own. That'll be your one rule, because your Ori encompasses your destiny. It's your personal Orisha. Like, that's your Godhead. You have divinity within you. You don't have to eat the cow to get the grass. Like, you don't have to follow somebody into salvation. Like, we're in the middle. We're not in the middle, but we're at some point in a shift from this idea about whoever has wisdom is the Messiah to them just being a prophet, which is a huge shift for humanity, because and I would say especially for Black people, because we love church because we could sit in the pew and listen to the preacher. We don't have to participate. We can, but we don't have to. And so for a lot of people, it's just easier to follow than it is to lead yourself, to gain self-mastery. Like, that's the only mastery you should really be after, is mastery of yourself. But people do seek to control others because it's a lot of benefits to having somebody else lend you their ashe. I have friends that when we have conversations about certain things, everything is spiritual. So when we have certain conversations about things, about what I'm trying to do or what I'm thinking about or something that I'm challenged by, a part of our friendship agreement is that they will lend me their consciousness on the matter. Like, this is what I see. I don't see the problems that you see. I'm operating from a higher vibration than that. What I see is the success. So let me tell you what that looks like to me, so you can capture that feeling and put your ashe towards the solution rather than just re-explaining the problem. And so it's easy to be, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's easier to suffer when you're used to suffering. It's easier to go in the direction that you already have momentum. And generally, people have momentum in the direction of lending their ashe to someone they feel is wiser than them. Now, that could be a boss, that could be a parent, that could be a preacher, that could be a awo, that could be a godparent, that could be a friend, that could be anybody, and it could be a mate. The problem with that is that you're stunning your own spiritual growth. How are you moving towards your destiny if all of your energy and power and focus is going towards someone else and how they interpret things? The objective is to have an original take on things. Like, if 4 eyes shouldn't be coming out with one story. There should be some variation somewhere, because you're a unique individual. So let's say we talk about Odu a lot, and how when you're initiated, you have an Odu that's your own signature. And because there's 256 known, we two people may have the same Odu. Even in that, your DNA is not the same, your fingerprint ain't the same, your irises don't look the same. However you identify, your dental records ain't the same. However you identify an individual person who's got their own individual destiny, they have their own divine responsibility and their own ashe, their own divine intelligence is all connected together. So that part's already taken care of. You don't have to think the same because that's not why you're here. If everybody thought the same, then what's the use of having different people? We only need one person if everybody gonna think the same thing.
Yeah.
If everybody's take on something is the same, then we don't need one person. We don't need all y'all to say the same thing over and over again. But if you can bring to light the part that you carry, just know that you carry a part of that. And then you don't have to rely on someone else to interpret everything for you. I'm not against leadership, but I am against control over someone else's destiny. Don't impose your destiny on somebody else just because, and allow people to work cooperatively with you. It's the difference between codependence and interdependence. And it will serve us to learn how to be interdependent, to bring your gift, your value to the table. But in order to do that, we also have to have a greater understanding of who we are. And that's something that you'll never finish getting. Like, I don't think that it's possible in a lifetime to get a full-blown understanding of who you are, but you can get the important parts down and run with yourself, because it's very important that we are able to. And this is a time where you can be clear whether or not you have that, because we're isolated. So when you by yourself, no music, no TV, no Facebook, no internet, no Instagram, no nothing. It's just you. It's you and God. And one of the Iyas that was on Facebook, her piece of God. It's you and your piece of God. And so if you feel secure in that time by yourself and you don't feel like you need anybody or you don't need a distraction from that, then you're probably good. But if you got to turn on the TV, if you feel compelled to, and even eating is because I had to catch myself the other day. I was like, what you actually hungry for? Because you ate. Put your chips down. Down. Yeah, so, I mean.
You mentioned self-mastery.
Yes.
That's a key word right there.
Yeah.
What is self-mastery?
Self-mastery.
That's what I picked up on. That as soon as you said that, it's like my antennae went up. Self-mastery. Nobody's coming to save me. I'm going to have to save myself. Sometimes I do a good job of it, and sometimes I don't. Although, in saying that, as I'm listening to myself say it, my ancestors are there. Like people say, it's a soft place to fall, but they're not going to save me either. When it comes to my relationship with Olodumare, that's me and my creator. I've got to save myself. With self-mastery, I have to truth and transparency. I have to be able to speak the truth to myself, no matter how it may feel, hurt, sound, be. The truth is what I must or what I must strive to stand in, my truth. And also realizing truth is not static. Truth can flow. Sometimes what's true for you, I know what was true for me when I was 25. Sure, the hell ain't true for me now.
I say. Sure,
Uh,
Ashe.
and I don't think one is better than the other. I think it's having that flow of all those years uh, opens my eyes to that helps me with my own self mastery. I'm not the same self that I was at 25. And hopefully, I'm a better self now that I'm older.
Ashe.
Yeah.
Ashe. Ashe.
Got some
So
people
true.
agreeing with you here.
Truth and transparency. You have to be able to speak and stand in the truth of who you really are.
True
A
that.
lot of times we have tried to hide that from ourselves and others. So we have to be transparent with that. I'm just not good at whatever it is I'm not good at, or I have to drink that beer and I know I shouldn't be. Well, I'll talk about something that I do. I know it's not a good thing, but I sure do like soda. And people, people get mad at me and tell me, and I know they're right. So all I can say is I've got to be very transparent about that, and then go get a glass of water and try to drink that. So we have to be
That's right.
we have to be truthful and transparent. I mean, that's just a silly thing, but there are other things within my personality that I have to be transparent about, because and sometimes you have to listen. It's self mastery, but sometimes you have to listen to what other people are saying, because sometimes they can see things in you that you may not want to see in yourself. Now, also with that, everything is balanced, because also with that, you have to realize where that information is coming from and if it is valid. So there's a lot to self mastery.
Ashe.
So Sister Mocha said, some truths are seasonal. Truth allows growth and change. Sister Sanaa, Dr. She says self mastery. Wow, why am I tripping this word? Are the evolving self, true and transparency. Sorry, sis, I don't know what I was going on. A lot of people say yes. I say another sister said, "Well said, Iyamukwe. I believe some people like to impose their destiny on others. Everybody's journey. Destiny is unique to. Sorry, my computer. To them.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
people are saying yes right now. Right
I
now.
do want to make a distinction between truth and what is true.
All right.
Hmm.
Because you can stand on truth. True is the shifting sand. You don't necessarily want to stand on your situation.
True that.
I mean, you have to be honest with yourself and translate the spiritual principle that applies.
Mm.
Because truth, you'll find spiritual principle in truth. And what appears before you, which you can say is true, um, may not seem like God is answering your prayers. It may not seem like like your ancestors are guiding you. It may not seem like, but you have to remember that as you grow and evolve, you're in uncharted water,
Mm.
and you don't know what it takes to get you to be the the fullest, highest, and best of yourself. You don't necessarily, you haven't mapped out what that looks like to get there. So things may be happening that will have a positive effect on you, but are unpleasant to experience.
Ashe.
And that's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the true things.
Yes.
My power, my lights is out, ain't no food in the refrigerator. The truth is, who is your source? That's going to give you a principle, a spiritual principle to stand on. That's no matter what you believe. You'll find that the spiritual principles that you can take from the cradle to the grave, for lack of a better way of saying this, that will take you are the ones that have powered your continuum. And when you stand on that, like Iyas said, like you standing in the truth of yourself, you activate all that ashe. You activate the ashe of your ancestors. You activate the ashe of whatever orishas are rocking with you. You activate your own ashe, and it pushes you forward. It propels you closer to the fulfillment of your destiny.
Mm-hmm. You know, and at this time when we're all talking about these different things, like we're saying, we're you know, we're in self mastery. We can still ask for help. We have to give ourselves permission to do that, because sometimes we feel like, you know, when we're trying to just master ourselves, we're just like, I do this, I got this. But what you say and what you say, you know, we're all, the information is helping us see how go along that journey. Self-mastery, it is a journey. It is something that changes. You know, like you saying, what I did a few years back, how I thought a few years back, how I thought before I, was led into dealing with the tradition and understanding what that meant.
I think sometimes, first of all, this is a great conversation. I just think sometimes
Life, the journey,
I witness the most laziest people try to make everybody be lazy with them. Like if somebody has a clear vision and they moving, there will be some lazy person trying to tell you that that's not right, that you should wait because they gotta wait.
Right, right.
And sometimes I don't know how. I know we must all go together. I get it, but I also think we're at different levels of wherever we're trying to get to.
Oh yeah.
You can't make me be
Yes,
like,
definitely.
yeah, you can't make me be like, well, we gotta wait on the sign. No, you gotta wait on the sign because I had already got it.
Right.
But I think sometimes in the monolithic tone, sometimes I'm always puzzled on how we group people into this. This is what I struggle with when I went to church. This is my truth. I mean, here's the thing. I just always did it. But what I really was stuck with is how people would attempt to tell folks where they were based upon where they were. You know, it's like looking at somebody and be like, when I was your age, well, that's great, but that could be true. But I don't do that kind of shit. I've seen adults. I had this happen one time. I've seen this happen. One of my young ladies and the elder, I knew both these people. One lady looked at the girl and thought she knew who this girl was by the way she was dressed and how she talked. But it could be further from the truth that she thought. And we do that sometimes. Yeah. Everybody has to go through the same exact steps, and that's not true.
Right.
Some of us have been born so protected. Not trying to be funny, but we just move on through. We really ain't got to go through all the steps you got to go through. Right. But maybe you need to go through all. Maybe I was born with a beautiful voice. You need to take voice lessons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're right. You're correct.
People who can play the piano and never taken a lesson in their life.
Yeah.
Do we make them back up and all take the piano lesson? But I think people don't know what to do with people like that. Because it may make you look like you may not know what you're talking about, but it may not be that. It just may mean that they don't need your instruction right now. You can't make everybody be your baby. It don't work like that. What's you going to say?
You know, in hearing you say that, it just makes me think of our higher educational system, and that a lot of times people come with natural ability in certain areas, let's say science, but we are made to have to go through a certain regimen within higher education to prove that we are worthy of something that we have naturally. Science, art, an artist, a musician. You do have to learn more about your craft, but sometimes learning more about your craft is through the experiencing your craft. It's not in learning, you know, a different language, and you're trying to be a great piano player, or Miles Davis, for example. Um, so that's what came to my mind, higher learning, and that sometimes we've backed ourselves into a corner with it. And I'm not so sure that it is helpful in all instances. I would like to see, there are certain institutions that are far more cutting edge when it comes to education, higher learning education. And quite frankly, we need to start looking at our, and I'm speaking specifically about Black folk, African folk. We need to start looking at our educational system from birth,
Yes.
and how we have allowed it to, we have allowed someone else's version of education stunt us in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
We learn differently. I'd like to see classes where people go outside, and your science class or your biology class has to do with you being outside and looking at plants, and doing experiments outside, or going to different places, museums, and places like that. We and then our educational system, we need to look at it, because I saw something today. I'm sure you all have seen it already. Um, with with 45, 45 should teach us something about our educational system, because we got, if that's as far as the best we can do in terms of a leader of a country, then we got some not so well educated folk.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we've always had such not well educated folks. I think that's the Jedi mind trick. Because
Well,
It is.
true.
they're dedicated to whatever, they're gonna hold that line.
Mm,
Yeah.
The line is ridiculous. They're gonna be like, "Ain't let the country fall." They know this fool is there. Like, you know what I
Well,
mean?
look,
So I just,
the what we talk about African centered design and like replacing Western ideas with African principles and spiritual law and different things. But a lot of time what that turns out to be is someone just taking something that still has the bones of Western thought and then just blacken it. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Let's put
mm-hmm.
black people in all the places where we see white people, and then we got African. It's no, actually, there's human centered design, which is more, I would say, compatible with African centered design than anything I've seen just out. So, and that's based on a person and the fact that people can be individuals and everything. It's not a one size fits all solution for things. And we're working outward from the experience of the person that we're trying to serve or educate or what have you. And that's more in alignment with the principles of African spirituality, because each person has their own individual destiny. And if you are letting the person who is being served determine how you can serve them, then that's a more appropriate approach to service, because um, it's just like when you sit on the mat and you have a ritual to do. Two people may have the same problem, but the solutions are completely different, because one thing might be something that has just tumbled through their entire bloodline, and one thing might be an incident that this person is just experiencing in this incarnation, and so I mean, that's just one example of how the things can be different. We we get to, like Ia said, start earlier with how we approach. But a lot of that can happen in the home if the schools never change. How we,
True.
how you
Yeah.
discipline and teach your children, how you allow them to express themselves. Every child doesn't have to be the same. Every child don't have to go, and so people, a lot of times I've seen parents base their decision on how they discipline their children on less on that child, but more on their experiences as a child. And so my mama whooped me and I turned out fine. That type of thing. And it's like, well, just because you endured a slavery type beating doesn't mean that all these kids can. So,
Oh yeah.
everybody responds to things differently. And I think, like, if we took the time out as individuals to relate to children and other people as individuals, it would serve us greatly, because we miss a lot of the blessing that people are by laying blankets over people. Just sweeping generalizations, like, and all black people do this, all black people do this. No, that's not true.
We don't even use words like some. Those are things you learn when you were a baby. So could I have some? Only need a few. We don't even use those words anymore.
No, we don't.
We just let the blanket over everybody. Madonna said it would be fabulous if communities started creating circles for practitioners to learn indigenous languages like Yoruba. It would increase our ashe and spiritual and cultural. And spiritual and culturally. Spiritually and culturally. And I only say, I'll tell you, I did try to have a Baba in my town teach Yoruba, but again, it just didn't work out. Like, people didn't really stick to it like they could have. And then sometimes when you're teaching things, when you're a culturalist, sometimes it gets caught up in culture. I just want to learn a language. I don't want to, So I always feel like, and Adana, you right on. What I've learned about languages, you just have to find the teacher that works for you. What I'm learning about myself, I like people who are nurturing and soft. I do not like hardcore people kids, because I feel like I'm gonna be fighting with them. I like people who are. If you're soft, I'll do damn near anything you ask. It's like when people say, "Baby," I'll be like, "Yes, ma'am." But if you be like, "This is how we gotta be," I'll be like, "Yeah, get the hell away from me with that bullshit." No, like immediately, I feel like I'm getting ready to go to war. I can't learn like that, because that's a different kind of, So I just feel like, I think in learning another language, I will say that language is a way of reconnecting, to whatever it is that you want to do. That's why for me, I'm bonded to certain words from the 70s, because I love the 70s. So sometimes I'm still using words like jack and suck. And, the stuff you heard, be cool. Like, I remember all those sayings from the 70s.
Yeah.
Right on, that's my favorite one. Right on,
that's right.
That's me. I done tried to bring that back. But
let me, I have a question. I have a question for you and Ia. In relation to feeling like, I'm a person who also, I shut down completely when someone comes at me rough. Like, I can't do it. I'm not 100% sure how I get to be a child of Shango, and that's how I feel about that. But that's who I am. I have to tell the truth about myself. But my question is, in relation to rigor, like, how do you get a rigorous practice instilled in you without that roughness?
Oh, I see. I've had many conversation about this, and I was going to use the word battle because well, anyway, I don't take well to rigorous. And that is why I am part of this African spiritual tradition, because I feel that it's my relationship with the Creator, with the divine. I don't need a go between. I don't need any of that. I can go straight to the creator and commune with the creator. I am not one who is, you're not going to be able to beat this stuff into me. It's just, that's not going to, because that gets my back up, and it doesn't allow for me to take in information the way I would like to. When it comes to the language, I agree 100%. And I wish I could wake up one morning and that Yoruba would come out of my mouth. But I struggle with that part of the tradition in getting the language, and the language is very important because it carries the vibration. So I use it as much as I can, but I'm not good at that the way I would like to be. Maybe I'm being a little bit too precise, or I want it to be just right, or whatever. But yeah, I would love to find someone who could that I could work with to learn the language, but I haven't in all these years. So
For me, because I took the same class with Sister Rolanda, who was housed at the cultural center, and my daughter and myself took that class. I liked the fact that I was able to record, so I could take it on my time to go and listen to it later on. That we were allowed to take the notes in the way in which we were to do. My daughter and I discussed in our experiences that we then needed to take what we did see in the class, what we did learn in the class, as a teacher's perspective, he's given us that basic thing. It was up to us then to take it and communicate with each other in that language. Because it's like how when you listen to Mexican folks, for example, my friends who are Mexican will go between English and Spanish, as it was, as they need to, or however it is, even though that's the. And for us, there's not enough of us even communicate in Yoruba. We don't. And tradition-wise, we might be in our ile or our temple or whatnot, or just in a conversation, but we really don't use the words that we do know enough. We got that, that rigorous, okay, hey, this is how you do A, B, C, D, and these are the principles to it and all that. But then we have to then take it and use it. But if that's what we wish to do. And then some things, I have libraries and books of different terms and phrases and songs and stuff. But if I'm not using all of those, then I was like, okay. And it's in any language that we learn. So for our own languages, so for an African language, we have to do that too. We don't do, even when Swahili was a big thing, and it's like, unless you're talking to another person who has even gotten a chance to get a piece of that Swahili, you lose it because you're not talking, you're not using it, and we don't use it. So whatever, whether it's a soft version of teaching, because everybody has different ways that they learn, and so whichever method you need to retain, you need to take it from there and use it. And so we're all doing tradition. We have to make that effort. So that's why I'm glad we're doing what we're doing here, because when it comes out more, then maybe we need to get together, and we greet each other instead of just saying hi. What's that? Caro? When we're going to say bye. Or double.
Yeah.
But if we don't practice that, it's not going to retain, no matter which way we're taught. So I tell you this, I've met people who've gone to the continent one time. They speak the language and they have a wonderful memory, and they took the class one time. That's what I mean. It ain't the same for everybody. It ain't. They get it right back in the memory, and I'd be like, damn, I forgot how to say that quick. You know what I mean? But they remember. But I also feel like one of my, I guess you could say one of my teachers growing up, she used to tell me, if you want to learn a language, you have to be like the lover of the person that the language that they speak. That's to say, at the time she was still married to somebody who was half Mexican. Her Spanish is wonderful, but they, they speak it all the time, even when they're lovemaking. They practice. So that's one way of learning. She was saying that's how it was for her.
If that's what motivates you.
Yeah. Okay. No,
It's kind of an altered state, though.
Yeah. Well, look, she's Spanish. We put together in Latin America. She's been transferred, and she is much older than me and still got the language down. But I also feel like this. I just know my truth is that if somebody is soft with me or kind with me, I can see past all the flaws, and they may not know everything, blah blah blah. But if you are know it all and you are rude or arrogant, I can't do you at all. Yeah. I would just go into the wilderness with a book and figure it out. Now that says something, because some of us think just because we have things or we're the master that somehow you are entitled. That's where you're wrong, especially if your attitude is thank you. I walked through a lot of doors because my attitude was good. And I didn't have none of the credentials that I was supposed to have, but they was like, we could work with you. Like you mean. Yeah. So for me, like, I have to have that. I can't do protocol and you do the shit to me. Like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I'm gonna say this, mine's got you. I'm a big black woman. I hate it when people think because you're a big black woman that you can just shit and climb all over me. So that's my pet.
Oh my God.
That's my pet peeve. So I know I look like Big Mama and them, but you don't get to treat me like you treat Big Mama and them. Because I am a woman, I am a lady. You have to treat me a certain way. I'll check people like that. Like, I know I look like your mama who you shit on, but you don't get the shit on me. But that's not how you do. So I've seen people write to me and be like, and change their whole demeanor because they know I ain't going for it. I don't care what you was programmed. You can do it to me. So I feel like for me, I had to pick people. This is funny. You can really pick your teacher. You really ain't got to wait for them to pick you up. Yeah, I just never did that. That's why I wasn't the club person. I wasn't waiting for somebody to ask me to dance. If I wanted to dance, I would just go dance. So I just feel like in this spiritual traditions, and I'm just going like that, like the umbrella. That's why I can go in and out of a lot of different spiritual faiths, not have a problem, not have people put their bullshit on me about some funky ass protocol. And I'm saying funky ass protocol because we use that shit to enslave more people than we have to free them.
Yes.
We're looking at how it's going to benefit you, not the person. So I don't do that. Like, that's just not my line. If somebody energy ain't right, I feel like you make it. But thank you. Because I'm old school, so I don't want to say please and thank you. And sometimes at the same time. But just because I'm looking for some knowledge, don't mean you get to try to enslave me with it. I was always taught the so-called holy books could be used as a tool to your enslavement or a map to your liberation. Some of this shit look like enslavement. Some of this shit look like slavery. It does not feel like liberation.
Yeah. It's clear because look how the Bible has been used throughout the world.
I mean, we have holy war. What is a holy war?
It's a tool of It's a tool of colonization. The Bible's been used as a tool of colonization. Now, I'm not saying that was the original intent. I'm not saying that's everybody's intention. If you cling to the Bible, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that it clearly has been used as a tool for colonization. And for African people, good Lord. I mean, just look at the slavery experience, right? And how Christianity was wielded as a sword to just basically cut our head off. So we could be running around with no head of our own, and slave masters like, that's okay, you don't need no head. You just do what I tell you. You know what I'm saying?
You don't even know how to read. I'll read it for you.
Yeah, and it trips me out when I hear people say, if I was enslaved, I would have never done blah, blah, blah. But if you look at your life, you see all the ways that you tend to follow the most charismatic person around you, whether that's your preacher, your boyfriend, your boss, whatever the case may be. If charisma is something that moves you to get off your square, that's something that you might want to spend some time looking at. And I say that because it's very, very dangerous. Do you understand? Like, the reason why we say that you can put years of working to your child and all it takes is one man to come along and ruin everything, is because of our fundamental response to charisma. Like if somebody is talking good, like we like, oh, okay, and you wonder why people get scammed. It's because of your response to charisma. People have learned how to invoke something in you. Now, an invocation is a type of prayer. We invoke the Orishas all the time. We invoke our ancestors. We invoke our own Ori. These are prayers that we do to wake things up and get it cracking. Somebody's doing that to you, but not for good. It's like when you try to send. Well, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, you know what?
Okay, so there are people who will use, like I said, Ashe is indifferent, right? So we know that Orishas have Ashe, but there are people who use that Ashe against other people. It's a character issue, it's a character flaw, but that's the work that they become good at, and they do it. So people pay them a lot of money, and they want to go after their enemies or what have you, perceived enemy or however you want to look at it. My thing is, that means that somebody can use your own, if you let them, somebody can use your own Ashe against you. They can make you feel a certain kind of way. That's your energy rising up to a level of volatility. That's what happens when you get all excited and you want to have sex. Your energy's rising up to a certain level of volatility, right? But if you lose control of yourself, you'll do something that is against your own best interests, right? So look at the way that certain Christians have been manipulated to vote for Trump. Because he's put all this time into talking to ministers, and all he had to say was he's a Christian. You ain't look at nothing else that this man has said that is not in line with any kind of Christianity that I ever seen. But you still vote for him because you towing a line. You know what I mean? And people are putting their energy behind that. So we want to know how somebody gets to be the leader. They get to be the leader because people put their energy behind it. But we are shifting away from Messiah to prophet, which means that we lead in a more cyclical fashion where everyone's Ashe is equally significant. We all know our power and we don't use it to hurt each other. We use it to support and evolve us all.
Yes.
That's what we're moving towards.
Yes.
And it takes each one, if I says we wake up one at a time, but it takes each of us as we wake up to stay woke.
Don't fall back asleep. Come on, get up.
After you eat a full meal, don't then have a sandwich and take a nap. It really is our responsibility to ourselves and each other. And we should take it seriously because we're in this situation primarily, with the opportunity to look out on the world differently and say, I'm here by myself. And so I know I have individual responsibility, but I'm also on earth with all these other people that will be equally impacted by something that happens that is large scale, right? You have the power within you to create large scale happenings, just like this. But it doesn't have to be something negative. It doesn't have to be something more isolating. It could be something that brings us all together and evolves us.
Right on. LaDonna said that she brought up language to draw the similarities between ATR and Islam and Judaism. Other spiritual groups have schools to further their study. That's what I'm trying to bring into the combo.
Yeah. Okay.
Right on, LaDonna.
Yeah, go ahead, LaDonna. I agree with that. I agree 100% with that.
Well, family, look, we've gone over our hour, But I thought that was a good conversation for today.
It was a good conversation. Good
Yeah.
conversation.
Is there anything that the people, whoever is maybe listening, is there anything that you would like us to talk about or to address? Do you have any specific questions or comments that would lead us down the road to us talking about whatever it may be? And the other thing is, please subscribe. I'm doing your work, Rolanda.
No, to the YouTube channel.
Please subscribe and like and leave your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
So, please go and subscribe. The link is on the comments to our YouTube channel. We're trying to build up our YouTube numbers. So if you could, please, and then you'll get notifications when we're on. How great is that? So thank you, Iya. And then also bring in your comments of things you may want us to discuss, questions you may have, things you think we should really be talking about. You know, this is that conversation. And I thank everybody for the comments. I know when we sign off, I will welcome you all to go back in and answer people's comments. And, you know, I think sometimes if I motivate, do that while we're on here, but to kind of type in and kind of respond, you know, in that way. But I think this is great. I always love these conversations. I learn a lot from it. So until tomorrow, family.
Yes.
Family.
Bye.
We just say
Ashe.